This is the Lockpicker 1969, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to the next episode of Interview with a Lockpicker. Today's guest is Steve's Lockpicking. Say hi, Steve.
Hello, everybody. Steve here. How's everybody?
So Steve, how and when did you get into lockpicking?
Well, I really got really involved in it about a year and a half ago, and I mean that's when I really started focusing on it. I got just a cheap lock pick set to get going to see if that was something I really wanted to do, and then it just snowballed from there.
Okay. So what other things did you get into because of lockpicking?
Well, I first started by just doing like everybody else does, just kind of going through the harder locks and things like that, and then about and then after getting through, some of the harder locks, the milestone locks like the 1100 and stuff like that, 1100 series padlocks, then I got into a giveaway that Jack Fox had and ended up winning some lever locks. And so then I started getting into lever locks and started learning those. And then there was some other conversations through comments and things like that with Jack Fox and Chris Capoon and that, and then that ended up translating into doing some cutaway locks for lever locks for some different lever locks and stuff. And
Yeah, tell us about that.
so I started out by getting a lock from Jack Fox. I've seen some videos on people taking the Chubb cruisers apart and stuff like that. And so that's what we kind of started with. And once Jack Fox sent it to me and he said, just play with it for a little while, and stuff like that, and then do the cutaway. So definitely some trust from him by turning one of these locks over to me to play with and then try it out. So once I played around with it a little bit, then I took it out to my shop and cut it open and then started to clean it up.
Cool.
And then I took that front plate, which, big old hunk of steel, and turned it into a cutaway once I figured out exactly where I needed to, the sections I needed to cut away so that the lock could still be functional, but yet you could be able to see everything that was going on inside.
Huh. Okay.
So that's the first one I've done.
Okay. So there was others.
Yeah. So I did one. I did, so now I've done three of them for Jack Fox. I did the Chubb Cruiser. I did a Squire Defiant, and then I just sent him a Chubb Battleship last week. And then I also did one for Thumper. I did a Protector for him. And then I did two of them for Chris Capoon, which is another Chubb Cruiser and a Chubb Battleship. So the first Chubb Battleship is the one I did for Chris Capoon.
Okay. So how did you get into machining?
Well, my dad was a machinist, and that was his career for 50 years or something like that. So he definitely was very experienced with that, and he worked at a machine shop, basically same machine shop and stuff. And even though he did the machining, he didn't really, you know, take me out there to do a lot with it. But he always taught us how to use the machines and what to do and stuff, and kind of, the same idea of like, well, if you don't have it, then build it yourself
Make it.
type of an idea.
Yep. If you don't have it,
And
make
then
it.
yeah, if you don't have it, make it. If you don't have the right tool, make one.
Yep.
That kind of attitude. If your car's broken, then fix it yourself,
So you made a lot of
type of
your
a
own
thing.
lock picking tools then.
Yeah, a few of them.
Okay.
And then a few years ago, actually have a degree in computer science and software engineering. And after I'd gotten laid off or let go from a contract, I hadn't had a job for months and months. And my neighbor who owns a machine shop just said, "Hey, I need some help. We're getting really backed up. Come help us out for a few weeks." And it's been 5 years now.
So what kind of things? So that's you're doing CNC work, right?
Yeah, I mainly work on CNC milling machines and some lathes, and then we also have two robotic arms that will help um, run the machines for us. So I program the robotics arms to pick up the parts and put them in the machine and start the machine up and take it out when it's done,
So what kind
as
of?
well as setting up the CNC machines and getting
Okay.
those going and stuff,
So
running those.
what kind of things do you make with the CNC machines?
Um, well, obviously a lot of parts for other companies,
Yeah.
but I'm usually working with aluminum or steel and sometimes plastic. And so we'll make these parts out of aluminum that have to be very precise because they need to have like a flame path, because these have to be compliant with certain regulations and stuff. So we have to make sure that our machining is within sometimes thousandths of an inch and make sure it's very accurate and stuff. And then we so anyway, we produce those for a lot of different companies. Some parts are made for that go into some industrial type lights that are bomb proof, explosion proof,
Mm-hmm.
and some parts are even for archery bows and things.
Oh, cool.
Even little screws and things like that. We do have some specialized machines that make really tiny, small screws and things like that for people too.
Hmm. Okay.
So,
Cool. So
so when I show a guy at work that is one of the machinists, some of these pins that people have done for challenge locks. He's like, "Oh yeah,
yeah.
we could do that in these machines. How many
yeah.
thousands of them do you want?"
yeah. Well, I have to imagine that's how the lock manufacturers make theirs.
Yeah, yeah.
So along the lines of custom pins, have you made any challenge locks, or are you somebody that prefers picking them?
Well, I've had ideas to make them, and I have the stuff and everything I need, the tools and everything I need to do it, and some ideas, different things to do, but I just haven't gotten to that point because I keep getting sidetracked with other projects like making these cutaway locks or
Yeah.
making other tools and stuff. And as far as challenge locks, I've done a few of them. Lady Locks, with her first two challenge locks she made, she offered to send them out, and so I was able to get one of those, and she actually named it off of me after me. So Lady
okay.
Locks made a challenge lock named Steve.
Okay.
So so I was able to, once I got that, I was, one of the things I wanted to have better control over with the tension wrench and stuff. So I just went out to the shop and made a tension wrench that fit it just perfectly, and I was able to get exactly what I needed. And
Okay.
then I had the joint custody box from Joe Picks that I did, and one of the locks on there was, I even did one for that with even some cutouts and stuff like that to fit in that lock
Okay.
perfectly so I could have some really good control and basically float pick that lock. So once I got some some pins that were right there next to the shear line, I would just kind of ease it back just by hand until I got to that shear point, and off it went.
Okay. Yeah,
So a
I,
lot
I
lot more control.
Lady Locks, when she was pursuing her blue belt and blew right past that into brown. She'd sent me her first challenge locks, which I did on video. So there's a video in there somewhere on those. But I wasn't aware she made more of them. So that's cool.
Well, from what I understand, is she made two of them, and she sent those out to get reviewed, and then she got them back,
Yep, I reviewed
and
them.
then she sent those back out, and so I got one of those.
Ah, okay. Yep. Yeah, I reviewed those two on video for her.
Yep, I remember that. So,
Yep. So you mentioned about making lock picks. Can you go into that just a little bit?
well, one of the things when I first started was, hey, there's a lot of different profiles and
Yeah.
everything. I want to try everything, like everybody else. They want to try all the different profiles to figure out what's best, and of course, you know, that takes a lot of money to get everything out there. So
Yeah.
what I decided to do is, hey, you know, why not go make my own? So I actually just, rummaged through the toolbox, found some materials, and of course I have, all the machines. I have the drill press and bench grinders and belt grinders um, uh, and I had everything I needed to do it, so it wasn't that big of a deal for me to make it. And so I made a few of them myself, and then kind of did different profiles, different handle profiles until I kind of settled on some, and then I actually took some some filler gauge, which I had made some picks out of just regular filler gauge, and then I tested them out to see how strong they were, and I decided, hey, that would work great for me because I try not to be too heavy-handed and
Yeah.
destroy tools that I use, that I use. So I just took a bunch of filler gauges and just drilled two holes in them and took some screws and screwed them all together and just made a bunch of them all at once and made my own set.
Ah, okay.
Basically, that's all exactly the same
So
with
what?
different profiles on them.
So what did you do with the block? You left enough on the end of the pick so you can make whatever you wanted out of each one of them. Then.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I basically made all the handles exactly the same, and then the end I kind of tapered it down to exactly where I needed, and then I took them apart, and then each one individually I made
That's
separate profiles for them.
that is a cool
So
approach.
so I did 8 of them that way. One of them was sacrificed to make sure I was doing the way I wanted, make sure it was okay,
Yeah.
and so I got 7 of them. 2 of
Very.
them I finished, uh, pretty much finished. The other ones I still need to sand them down is all, but they
Ah,
have some brass liners and brass pins in them and things like that, brass tubing, things like that, all kinds of fun stuff on it.
I learned so many different approaches and methods from talking to you guys. I swear, you puts too many ideas in my head.
Yeah, well, it's like the one lock that I did for Thumper. When you take that apart, it actually was the that cover plate was actually 2 plates, and in order to make the cutout the same, I just screwed those 2 plates together and machined them together.
Hmm.
And then
Okay,
once I was done, took them apart and they were matching set.
that's cool.
So
Okay.
yeah, kind of same type of principle.
All right. So, switching gears just a little bit. What has your experience been like in the lockpicking community?
I've had a lot of fun experiences because you get to interact with a lot of people, and even though I didn't really get out there on social media in the past, and I still don't do too much with some of the social media sites, but I've kind of focused a lot on the YouTube stuff and the comments and things like that, and making the videos and things, and so it's been very positive working with people. I got a couple more cutaway locks that I will be doing here in a little while, as soon as the mail comes, as soon as it gets in the mail and stuff and get going. But um, I try not to sit there and do it. The one thing that I try not to do is go and do it for money or anything like that. I usually
Yeah,
just say, hey, I would love to do it for you. And they end up sending me extra locks as a thank you. So
that's cool.
that helps get a
Yeah,
little bit more locks that I would have been able to get before. So I do
definitely.
have my own Chubb cruiser and I do have my own Chubb battleship and stuff. So
Yeah. So you mentioned before you had those sent to you, and if I remember correctly, you actually had two sent to you. Um, One was supposed to be one for you to keep, the other one was for you to make a cutaway out of. And you said something to the effect of you looked at it a little differently than that. You looked at it as you had an extra lock in case you had an uh-oh.
Right. Well, with a Chubb battleship, that is something that before I started, nobody else has really cut those open, and I've never could find anything that would really show exactly what to do. And they aren't riveted together. It's one big piece with the cutout, in the middle to put the internals in. So
Mm-hmm.
it's something that nobody really has done. So it's kind of like new ground. And
Okay.
so when I did that for Chris Capoon, he sent me two of them. He sent one to have cut away and one for me to keep. And I just like, well, I guess if I do mess one of these up, then I do have another one to use anyway. And luckily for me, the first one worked out perfectly. Didn't have any issues with it. Just
Definitely.
a small, just a small repair with the spring, and that was it. So, not very big deal.
Okay,
And
so
then
oh, go ahead.
anyway, well, the other part of that was because of cutting it out and removing that material, I did have to make a spacer to go in there too. So that took a little extra work as well.
Okay, can you explain the spacer a bit?
Basically, because of making the cut and removing the material, I just got a piece of flat steel, a flat steel bar, and cut it out, and then just traced out the exactly the outline of the lock, and then just cut it out and machined out the inside so that it could fit right over there,
Just to hold everything in
just like it
place.
was. Yeah,
Okay.
give that. So anyway,
All right.
that was
So
kind of fun to do.
you mentioned on the community about YouTube and all that, and you have a channel. So you mentioned something about your family influencing that. Can you talk about that a bit?
Well, I started to get a few subscribers, and I hadn't made any videos and hadn't even really thought about it too much. And pretty soon, my kids are saying, "Hey, you need to start doing this." And then I start getting other people on YouTube saying the same thing. You need to start making videos too. So I figured, well, why not? I mean, I'm still new to this. If even and I could just present it. I just kind of focused on, well, presenting on, what I've done and how I do it instead of, anything else. And maybe
Mm-hmm.
somebody might get something out of it
Learn
and
something.
enjoy it and stuff and learn from it. But
Yep.
so a lot of encouragement from my family.
Okay, that's cool. So,
And to me, the family is the most important thing.
of
It's like with
definitely,
lockpicking, that's just a hobby. I just still have to focus on that as a hobby and
yeah,
make
and
sure I have family.
and what I had heard when Bosnia and Bill stepped out of lockpicking and doing videos, anyways. I don't know that he's given up lockpicking, but he definitely, stepped away from doing YouTube. But as I understood it, was for family reasons also. So that's definitely understandable. So
Hmm.
in the community or on YouTube or even in the forums, who would you say your biggest influencers are?
Well, when I first started out, it was watching, of course, the lock picking lawyer, lock noob, and then getting into Bosnian Bill stuff. And I actually, when I first saw Bosnian Bill's videos and stuff, I'm like, oh, these are really nice because it had some um, showing you different techniques and stuff. And then I started to right at that time is when I looked on his website and the website was down, and then I stopped seeing videos from him. So that's right about the time that he started stopped making videos at that
Oh,
exact
okay.
same time.
Gotcha.
And then I discovered Helpful Lockpicker. He's definitely had a lot of good videos that teach you how to do it, and he explains it very well. And that definitely helped me out. And then getting into Chris Capoon's videos Jack Fox's videos and Brummy Lockpickers videos, things like that. Those have definitely been, things that I watch for and have enjoyed, and even from the very beginning. So,
Okay. Okay. Well, last question. What would you
okay.
say to anybody interested in doing machining, and what advice would you give them if they're interested in pursuing it?
Well, the biggest thing is to make sure you definitely have the right education. And I always tease my dad because he had all 10 fingers, and that makes a good machinist.
Okay.
When you have all your digits, and I still have all my digits, I don't have any problems with that. So, always look at being safe in whatever you're doing. Make sure you enjoy it. I've always, one piece of advice I heard a long time ago was find out what you love to do, and then find out how to make money at it.
Yep. Yep.
So it's definitely, you definitely have to enjoy it and stuff and have fun doing it, but make sure you know exactly what you're getting into, because even working at a machine shop, that's, you look at the cost of doing that machine work, it costs a lot of money. And I'm working on CNC machines that are in the six figures at least, just the machine
Yep.
itself, not
Yep.
counting all the tools and everything else.
Okay. Well, this has been a wonderful interview. I really, I'm grateful you were able to do this. Is there any one last thing you'd like to say to our listeners before we sign off?
And we're already done. I think there's a lot more that we need to cover, right? to me
Well,
to me the biggest to me the biggest thing is to make sure that I mean, there are people that do it for a career and stuff, and enjoy doing it as on the side as well, but with the lock sporters, it's a hobby. So make sure uh, uh, you keep your priorities straight.
yeah,
Make sure that it doesn't get in the way of other things. And to me, the most important thing is uh, having a family that supports you, and keeping them really close.
yeah,
And like that one TV host used to say, "Go hug your family," today.
yeah. No, I those are where my priorities are at. Also, definitely. Well,
Hmm.
again, I want to thank you. This has been great. Um,
Thank you.
so I guess we'll wrap this up. If you are a subscriber, thank you. If you are not yet a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications and all, and hit like if you would, please. And we'll 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 sign off for today. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.